What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the West Coast POPCast. It's your boy, the Final Boss Knock, and today we are bringing back the beloved Champion Series. And what better way to kick it off than with every TNA World Champion ever. Whether they were phenomenal, elite, Olympic, charismatic, iconic, the list of people that held this World Championship is incredible. From the all-time greatest. Some of them you might have remembered, some of you might have forgotten. We're going to cover it all. This is part one. There'll be more parts to come. But every TNA World Champion, let's kick it off. The first entry is a shout out to the wrestler that is the top two greatest of all time, and he's not number two. I'm talking about the Machine. Pull down the straps, the Olympic gold medalist, the main event mafia, kingpin, the inaugural world champ, Kurt Angle. In his TNA career, he'd go on to win the championship 6 different times, setting the record for most reigns as TNA World Champion and the most combined days as World Champion with 608 days. For a guy like Kurt Angle to come over to TNA in his prime, put the rocket ship on the promotion. He had legendary matches with Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Sting, including moonsaulting off the cage. This man was a human highlight reel. He was the Machine. He was going crazy. Kurt Angle won the championship twice at Slammiversary King of the Mountain. First time to become the inaugural champion. Second time when he had Samoa Joe betray the TNA Originals, aligning himself with the main event mafia and appointing Kurt Angle the top guy in the faction. Along with winning the world title twice at Slammiversary in the King of the Mountain, he beat Sting twice for the world championship, once on an episode of Impact and then once again years later at Hard Justice. The records he shattered during his 10-year run in TNA were unthinkable. He literally held every single belt in the company at one point at the same damn time. Oh, it's true. Kurt Angle was the perfect example of jumping over to a new company and elevating everyone. This man brought everyone up, and he was the true definition of a world champion. He didn't just defend and win in the United States. He defended his belt and won more gold in New Japan when he defeated Brock Lesnar to add the IWGP World Championship to his TNA World Championship reign. Even the Beast got this work during Kurt Angle's Hall of Fame reign. To cap off his TNA career, his last world title win came when he defeated Bobby Lashley in London, England, 2015. With some respect on the name. Next one on the list. This is the Icon. This is the most legendary performer TNA ever signed. This is Sting. The dedication, the passion, the loyalty to the craft. This man Sting came into TNA and changed the game completely. This is what you call a complete performer. He came in, did things the right way. He was the ultimate hero for the company. Even when he was in the main event mafia, he was the moral compass for the group. It didn't matter how much shenanigans went on. You bring out outside interference, tables, chairs. It didn't matter. When he powered up and popped off, it was curtains. Scorpion Death Lock, Scorpion Death Drop, Stinger Splash. Get it how you want it. It's unthinkable. It's unimaginable how this man keeps going strong. Whether it was feuding over the Mafia with Kurt Angle or putting over AJ Styles, getting him to that icon level, this man was the ultimate storyteller. He told the best stories in this company. And in the land of total nonstop action, the Icon was a game changer. So let's go through the accolades. With 4 TNA Championship wins, he is tied at second with the most reigns of all time. Bound for Glory, also known as TNA's biggest pay-per-view every year. Sting started off 4-0, winning the world title twice at this event, first beating Kurt Angle, and then following that up with knocking off Samoa Joe. His final 2 runs of the TNA World Championship came after he defeated Jeff Hardy, not going to talk about that one, and then Mr. Anderson in the same year. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Joker Sting. You cannot forget about the switch up Sting, the Icon, made to the Joker. In TNA, the man called Sting proved he can do it all. Bang, bang. Next up on the list, we have the hardcore legend, Mick Foley. Possibly one of the biggest shock title changes I've seen in TNA history. So when the hardcore legend took on the Icon Sting in 6 Sides of Steel, and at the Lockdown pay-per-view in the city of brotherly love, the city that is home to hardcore wrestling, the city of Philadelphia, we seen barbed wire bats, violence and mayhem. But as the dust settled, as the smoke cleared, Mick Foley emerged victorious with a bloody smile on his face. The man known as Miss Foley's baby boy grabbed gold once again. Having a nice day. Oh, ho, ho, ho. This next one puts a smile on my face. Cause deep inside he always knew he could. I'm talking Samoan machine. Samoan machine. I said Samoan machine. What? That's right. We're talking about Samoa Joe. This is way before he was the AEW World Champion. Shout out to the man getting that W. This is way before he was the NXT World Champion. This is way before he was the United States Champion. I'm talking back in the steel cage. Lethal Lockdown versus Kurt Angle in a shoot match in the beginning. He became the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And when he did it, he was the youngest ever at the time. You can't talk TNA without talking Samoa Joe, who set the record for longest undefeated streak when he joined the company and just smashed everybody. Slapped the heads, coquina clutch, muscle buster. In the ring, smoother than the smoothest butter. Tap him out, make him cry, bring another. It's Samoa Joe, man. Drop the mic and bring the thunder. And oh yeah, you can get these quick bars when it comes to Samoa Joe, man. This was the most dominant force we had ever seen in pro wrestling, bar none. Whether it was TNA, Ring of Honor, wherever he went, he dominated and won gold. And if you're a fan of AEW right now and the new world champion Samoa Joe, you guys are in for a treat. So put some respect on the name of the third TNA World Champion. And if the last entry put a smile on my face, this next one puts a tear in my eye. Get ready to fly. You are, I am, AJ Styles. Y'all are about to see the energy change right here. The aura, the presence, the phenomenal. This man is the GOAT, Mr. TNA himself. In the realm of professional wrestling, this guy right here is unreal, unmatched, and unbreakable, pun intended. This dude isn't just anybody. He's not just my favorite wrestler, he's your favorite wrestler too. And if he isn't your favorite wrestler, whoever you like the most in wrestling, they like him more. He's the reason Kurt Angle came to Impact. He's the reason TNA's hard to kill. He's the reason Kenny Omega didn't hang up his boots. He's the reason Will Ospreay came out to play. This man has moves galore, from the spiral tap to the shooting star press out the ring, the phenomenal forearm, the Pele kick, the Styles Clash, 450 springboard. He does it all and he's still going strong. No one sells a move better. No one performs a move better. This guy is the epitome of greatness when it comes to wrestling. Have you ever seen AJ Styles have a bad match? Neither have I. Have you ever seen AJ Styles in the same room as Superman? Neither have I. The man from Georgia is the GOAT of GOATs, and he's going in the Hall of Fame twice. This man was going hit after hit his entire career like he was Shohei Ohtani. If Kurt Angle and Sting were the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson of total nonstop action wrestling, well damn it, AJ Styles is Michael Jordan. So tell the Jumpman to get ready to fly. There's not a single other person you can call Mr. TNA other than AJ Styles. And as we go into a new era of TNA, the bar has been set by this man, and there's so much talent now that's gonna go and try to reach that bar. As for the accolades, what can I say? He became the TNA World Champion in a fatal 4-way match. It turned to a fatal 5-way match at No Surrender 2009, which included World Champion Kurt Angle, Sting, Matt Morgan, and Hernandez, who cashed in his World Heavyweight title briefcase. After winning the world title, he would go on to defend it at Bound for Glory, ending Sting's undefeated streak at the pay-per-view. Not only did he beat Sting at Bound for Glory, he ran it back with Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels in a Triple Threat Classic Part 2, and then became the longest reigning TNA World Champion in the history at that time. His time in TNA did not end well, but before he walked out the door, he became a 2-time champion, winning at Bound for Glory again. What can you say about the whole effing show? RVD, Rob Van Dam, came into TNA one week, took out Sting. Came into TNA the next week, took out Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles in the same night to become the TNA World Champion. Now, as much as I hated the shotgun booking, the ending of my favorite wrestler's title reign in AJ Styles, the longest reign at the time, the lack of build for a story, just giving a belt to the man who hasn't been here for 2 weeks. What was my point again? Oh yes, as much as I hated it at the time, I gotta give RVD his props, man. He came into TNA, he had some great matches, he gave it his all. I love some of his battles at Bound for Glory with Abyss, with Jerry Lynn, and that entire year in total nonstop action with the original winged belt. He had some big wins over some big names and was the fastest to get to the World Championship. So props to RVD. Shout out Mr. 5-Star Coast to Coast. Next up on the list, we have the charismatic enigma, sometimes Willow, sometimes broken Nero, but always Jeff Hardy. This has got to be the coolest pro wrestler in all of pro wrestling history. No one's had a connection at his prime, at his peak, like Jeff Hardy had it with the crowd. And no one, and I mean no one in pro wrestling is the daredevil that Jeff Hardy is. The amount of swanton bombs, leaps from death-defying heights this man has done in his career is insane, and he's still walking. And if you haven't seen them all, check out our Jeff Hardy top 10 moves on the channel right here. But Jeff Hardy, who originally debuted in 2004 for TNA, had a big impact, getting new eyes on the product, no-showed a few events, but came back with a vengeance as he won the world title at Bound for Glory in controversial fashion as he debuted a new theme song and then turned heel at the end of the night, defeating Mr. Anderson and Kurt Angle and then leading a new faction. We had never seen this before. This man was smoking on his entrance. He debuted a new custom belt, but for his third world title win, he was the good guy again on the redemption tour, all culminating at Bound for Glory 2012, where he defeated Austin Aries in the main event. Shout out to Jeff Hardy, the two-time world champ, who sung his own theme songs. There were for damn sure some ups and downs, but ultimately he killed it in TNA. Now, we've had many cowboys in pro wrestling, but none other than sorry about Joe damn. Look, the beer-drinking, Johnny Cash listening cowboy James Storm became world champion after his partner in beer money, Bobby Roode, couldn't get the job done at Bound for Glory against Kurt Angle. The next Impact show, James Storm beats him in crazy fashion. Now, I said Mick Foley's win against Sting was shocking. This right here, Storm against Kurt Angle, was the most shocking win in TNA Pro Wrestling history, as he did it in a matter of minutes. The homegrown talent, the man who's been here since the beginning, finally got the world championship when no one thought he can. America's Most Wanted, beer money, all the tag team championships in the world. Got the job done in his first opportunity. What can I say about this next entry? But after watching his tag team partner James Storm beat Kurt Angle in a few minutes after he couldn't get the job done at Bound for Glory, after he was cheated by Kurt Angle, what can Bobby Roode do? This man was in disarray. After 18 year career, he finally got that world championship opportunity and it slipped between his fingers. So what would he do after he got his second opportunity? He did whatever he could to get the job done, and that included stabbing his partner in the back, or in this case, beating him in the head with a beer bottle to win his first world championship. This world championship put an end to the historic run of Beer Money, a tag team that was put together that turned out to be more than that. The odd pairing turned out to be the golden pairing. Beer Money was the greatest tag team of their generation, and Bobby Roode ended that to become world champion, turning into the biggest heel the company had ever saw. This was like watching Anakin go to the dark side. This was like finding out Captain America was Hydra all along. Maybe not the last one, because that didn't make sense. But what made sense was Bobby becoming the longest reigning TNA champion, passing AJ Styles, and then for his second reign, beating Bobby Lashley, the Dominator, when he was unbeatable. As we move on from one former tag team champion to world champion, we go to the most decorated tag team champion in the history of pro wrestling with his partner Devon. I'm talking Bully Ray. After losing a tag match to the Motor City Machine Guns, which saw Chris Sabin kick out of the 3D. Bubba and Devon were supposed to retire on good terms, but Bubba turned Bully had other plans and turned on his partner. It looked like Bully was reinventing himself, going into the singles competition and trying to win gold on his own. He was such a big babyface, teaming with Sting, painting his face, storyline dating Brooke Hogan. We all thought the Bully turned a new leaf, but it was all just a build as it came crashing down at Lockdown, when we found out he was the real leader of Aces and Eights, and him and Devon were just fine. Talk about long-term booking. This man went from Bubba to Bully, from one Brook to another Brook, from tag team champion to world champion, and forming Aces and Eights, which some might say led to Bullet Club, but who knows? All in all, Bully became a two-time TNA World Champion, winning both his titles in a steel cage match, once pinning Jeff, the next pinning Chris Sabin. Speaking of Chris Sabin and getting a little more Detroit in your soul, the Motor City Machine Guns, the greatest, most influential, inspirational tag team of all time. I'll say it again, of all time, because they don't get enough credit. This is another wrestler that should go into the TNA Wrestling Hall of Fame twice. I am not kidding. As a singles wrestler, he is the greatest X Division champion of all time, the pioneer of the Ultimate X, the man with the most reigns as X Division champion. And during one of of those historic runs as X Division champion, he cashed it in for option C and became world champion, defeating Bully Ray with his own poison, with the hammer, to become a world champion. Don't even get me started once again about the Motor City Machine Guns for his second Hall of Fame induction, as that is one of the greatest tag teams of all time. We'll say that for another video, but MCMG is on top of the tag team mountain. And when Chris Sabin pinned Bully Ray, that was another feel-good moment for the TNA fan base, the TNA Originals, the TNA Hardcore, to have another one of their guys from day one get the World Championship. Sadly, this world title reign didn't last that long, but hey, he's still going to the record books. A win is a win. Later in this year, he became X Division champion once again, turning heel, going on another run, and proving his Hall of Fame status even more. Next up on the list, what can I say about this entry? This is Nick Aldis, known at the time as Magnus. Started out as Brutus Magnus, got cut down to Magnus, but now we know him as Nick Aldis, is the GM on SmackDown, former NWA World Champion. But at this time, in this reign, the national treasure, Nick Aldis, was the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And when he won that belt, again, it was like watching Anakin go to the dark side. Why Nick Aldis? He had such a great run. He joined the main event Mafia, even though he was never a world champion. He tapped out Sting at Bound for Glory. With the help of TNA President Dixie Carter and Rockstar Spud, Nick Aldis became the first British-born world champion in 100 years. This was the first ever Dixieland match for the TNA World title after AJ Styles walked away from the company. When he came back, they robbed my boy AJ. And after what was pretty much a 10-on-1 beatdown, the TNA screwjob, Nick Aldis became the undisputed champion. Next up on the list, what more can I say about my guy, the first ever black TNA World Champion, the Beast, the Dominator, the Destroyer, Bobby Lashley. His first run in TNA, it was a quick pit stop, there for a cup of coffee, in and out, didn't end well. But when the regime changed and he came back, his second run in TNA wrestling promotion, this man was Thanos. Every accolade these previous TNA World Champions had that made them great, he took it. The dominance that Samoa Joe had, he took it, matched it, and surpassed it. The ultimate belt collector known as Kurt Angle, who had every single belt at one time, he took that as well. This man was chasing down gold and grabbing it like they were infinity stones. Winning his first championship in 2014 after he knocked off Eric Young EY, proving what has now become known as the winning formula. MVP and a faction plus Bobby Lashley equals World Championship dominant. After destroying Eric Young and breaking the spirit of the company's biggest babyface at the time, he turned heel, and in the scraps, in the Battle of the Bobbies, Bobby Lashley took out Bobby Roode to get the second World Championship in his historic run. And he wasn't done yet. Following that up at Slammiversary for his third World Championship, he tapped out Drew Galloway, now known as Drew McIntyre, and is now becoming a pattern. If there's a big pay-per-view coming up and Drew McIntyre, Drew Galloway is world champion, Bobby will tap him out in dominant fashion. That's just what Bobby Lashley does. His fourth and final TNA World Championship win came in a 2 out of 3 falls match against Eddie Edwards. And if you want to see all the gold he has won, we have the Every Bobby Lashley Championship video on the channel right now. But as far as TNA accolades, Bobby Lashley finishes with 4 TNA World title runs, tied for second with Sting, and 403 days as champion, in second all time. Next up on the list, we have Ethan Carter III, also known as the Hardcore American Icon. After his big wins, he is the nephew storyline of Dixie Carter, president of TNA. With his best bud, Rockstar Spud, he's a 2-time TNA World Champion. Some of his best matches are included with Rockstar Spud. In the hair versus hair match, the sometimes good guy, always the bad guy 1%er was hot on the mic and had a hot run in TNA wrestling. His 2 world title wins both came on episodes of Impact Wrestling, the first being a win over Kurt Angle, the biggest win in his career, the second coming in the finals of the TNA World title tournament in a match where he defeated Matt Hardy before he became broken. That is EC3 TNA World Champ. Next up on the list, we have the man that can drive a tornado, the man that was iconic before the Iconics, the man with more kids than Heath Slater. We have Matt Hardy, who was another person in his second run with the company, became world champion, and added his name to the list of people that have won world championships at Bound for Glory. Like his brother Jeff, he won at Bound for Glory in a triple threat match against Drew Galloway and EC3. However, EC3 filed an injunction and got the match vacated because Jeff Hardy was a special guest referee and happened to interfere. After finally climbing to the mountaintop and being stripped of the championship, Matt did whatever it took to get to his next belt and became a 2-time champion by turning heel, becoming iconic, and taking out EC3. And who knows, the obsession iconic Matt Hardy has might end up breaking him. For this next entry in the list, last but certainly not least, I'm including him on here on this part 1 video because he is a dream. He is a dream come true. Kenny Omega. As someone who's been a fan of TNA since he started, I would have loved to see Kenny Omega squaring off with AJ Styles. Imagine a match with a Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe at his prime, a Sting. This is the epitome of TNA Impact. The greatness, the feeling of old school TNA Impact Wrestling was restored when the AEW World Champion, the best bout machine, Kenny, went to TNA Impact and won the World Championship with the help of Don Callis, with the help of his Bullet Club brothers. Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, Kenny Omega defeated Rich Swann at Rebellion in a winner-takes-all match to claim all the gold. He became the unified TNA World Champion as well as the Impact World Champion. In one fell swoop, in one match, he had all the gold and carried the pandemic on his back. So I know Kenny won the world title in the Impact Wrestling era, and we will get to the Impact Wrestling era in part 2. But I wanted him on part 1 because this was a dream come true for me to see him in TNA. And with his reign, a lot more eyes from TNA World Championship. So shout out to Kenneth Omega. And shout out to all the TNA World Champions that held the belt and put the company on their back. Impact Wrestling held it down, but today, TNA Wrestling is back. This is only part 1 of this video. Part 2 will be out very soon. So if you don't see them in this video, trust me, they will be in part 2. I know I had to split it up, but TNA Wrestling is back. Part 2 coming out soon. Check for everybody there. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time. Peace out, yo.